in SEC play. It's LSU and Texas A&M, but only one holds a bowl.
This is a lot of football to be played here in the month of November. But as we say around here, the games in November are the ones you remember. Our first goal is to go win an SEC championship. And that's what we're striving for.
That's why we come to Texas. As a little kid, you live to play in these type of games in this atmosphere. They're going to be loud, they're going to be rowdy, they're going to be energetic.
It's going to be a dogfight, four-quarter game.
We have to play physical and we have to execute. Trust in the culture that we've developed.
There's a standard, and that's the way we're playing today, man.
What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? We got a good show. Got a different type of show tonight. As y'all can tell, Josh and Dustin still aren't back yet. They're still doing holiday stuff, but they will. We should be back full strength on Wednesday night. Dustin said he might hop in tonight if he gets done with this holiday activities. Josh is at a Penguins game tonight, so we'll be getting some pictures and maybe some videos from that, which we'll post. But it's our first kind of official network show where we brought on the Philly guys about 2 weeks ago, and we kind of had this plan that's going to kind of be something going forward, a network show on the last Sunday of the month, just kind of everybody together, everybody coming in and watching, talking sports.
What's going on?
How you doing?
I mean, outside of the Eagles-Cowboys game, I'm still doing pretty good, Can't complain.
I was making sure we got y'all right where we want y'all. I mean, we did exactly what we needed to do. We put ourselves in great draft position. I mean, y'all messed up. I'm just going to be honest. Y'all messed up.
I feel like we can all agree. I couldn't help but laugh watching the Giants game too, and I was just like, leave it to the New York Giants to play themselves out of a higher pick. And I'm like,
out of a higher pick,
team that can destroy their own destiny.
I think the Patriots got the number one pick now. They played their way into the number one pick.
Yeah.
So we got some exciting news. We've been kind of talking about expanding for 3 weeks now, probably 3.5 weeks, somewhere around like that. Watched numerous podcasts, and we've shared in the group, and we think we found a perfect addition to what we do. Great a podcast, great guys. It's pretty cool that it's a father and son. That's really what kind of drew me more to that than I think anything was that it's. You don't see that too often. You see a bunch of friends, or you see, like us. I mean, I would say we're friends, but I didn't know y'all for a man in the moon, 3 weeks ago.
Right. And like I said, I mean, me and Scott have known each other for 13 years.
Yeah. And me and Dustin, we live 15 minutes apart, and Saturday was the first time we've ever met in person. I mean, it's wild. So the show we're bringing on is it'll be a Thursday night about 7 o'clock Central Time, our time. be 8 o'clock for you guys. So kind of keeping with the theme of what we've got going time-wise anyway. I know Wednesdays are a little later for us. But kind of with that being said, we'll bring on Casey and Mr. Eddie.
What's
going on, guys?
Welcome, guys.
We have arrived, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. I like it. I like the enthusiasm. So kind of tell us a little bit about you guys, or not tell our viewers a little bit about y'all. You know, we've done our research on you guys, and like I said, we are super excited, super pumped with the energy y'all bring, the show y'all bring. So just kind of tell everybody, a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's let age go before beauty. The bald and the beautiful. Go ahead there, Pops.
Well, that's one thing. He does not always represent the opinion of this side of the stream, just so you know. But the one thing I'll say is I kind of tagged along with Casey on this because he was meeting someone there, and we always talk about sports and get into different things. Our love-hate relationship with the Dallas Cowboys, and it's always an interesting topic for anyone, whether you're a lover or a hater. There's no in between, as you guys know. But I'm a retired Navy chief. Did 20 years in the military. Casey will tell you about. He did 10 years, so we come from a military background. But sports has always been there from the day that I was pretty much born into the Cowboys, of watching the old times of the Staubachs, the Randy Whites of the world, the Manster, as he was called. But my background, like I said, spent a lot of time in the military. I've worked in a lot of healthcare, different places, but sports has always been something that I have always been attached to. To me, it's a great escape from the real world sometimes, and just to enjoy the competition. It being a Dallas fan, I love the Washington fans. I love the Philly fans. I love the Giants fans. It's because it creates that rivalry. It's fun, right? Not so much the Philly fans, but it's still, you gotta have the rival. So that's just a little bit about my background. I've always enjoyed being entertaining, so we try to make it very entertaining, and have a little bit of fun with it. You'll see some different characters on here when we try out our acting skills, and of course,
I gotta tell you, I know nobody probably knows about this yet. I love the English dude with the black hat. That's the first show of y'all's that I've seen when you had the English man on, and I was like, y'all gotta
Sir
check
George.
That is our
Sir George. Yeah.
Yes, that's our long lost cousin, the King's Guard, Sir George.
Yep, he's been working with the king and queen as a guard for many, many years, so he has a lot of stories.
According to Sir George, since Queen Elizabeth was a little girl.
Yes. Yes.
Are you done with your monologue now?
Yes, I'm done.
All right, folks. Casey, the remix schedule here, the creator, the founder of On Time Sports Talk, the show designer. I do everything. He just shows up and gives his asinine opinions. What sparked, saying Josh Allen is not a top 5 quarterback, by the way. That's what he thinks over there. Asinine opinion. We'll get into that later, I'm sure.
Yeah, he doesn't even know what asinine means, so
you can't even spell it, you goofy little child. So, anyways, I'm just kidding, Pops. Listen, the podcast got sparked out of, my goal is to move into sports radio, and I had a meeting. I'm currently go to Texas A&M for my master's program, and so I went with my sports management program, and we had a meeting with AM 610 Sports Radio here in Houston, And I started talking to them and their brand manager and stuff like that. And I noticed they film their studio shows live and they stream it. And I was like, well, I should get used to being on camera if that's a potential place I might work. So that spawned the idea for the podcast, and we've just gone with it. Him joining up is, I couldn't think of anyone better. I'll tell you, the first thing we recorded sounded like straight dog water. Like it was monotone. It was on my cell phone. Like I was sending it to the guy at AM 610. He's like, just record yourself talking sports. And I listened to that and I'm like, I am not sending that as a first introduction. So the evolution of the show has continued. I got born into the Cowboys Dallas area. You can see it all in my background. And ultimately, man, it's taken on a life of its own. It's been a lot of fun. And my background is I played all kinds of sports growing up. I was a 4-sport letterman in high school. Decided to go into the Navy rather than go into debt in college. Got invited to walk on a couple of places for basketball, and I was like, nah, I'm not taking on that debt. And so as he
had to get your butt out of the house. You need to go.
Man, I wasn't. You acting like I was going to be 30 years old at the house. Please, I left 6 months later after graduation. Come on. So yeah, 10 years in the United States Navy. Got my degree. Always wanted. I fell in love with coaching when I was 17. So when you see my Twitter handle and everything, it says Coach Schedule. So I still currently a coach. Been coaching 16 years. Public education 11 years. It's been an adventure. We have a lot of fun. We introduced we were talking off air, we introduced our new character that Coach J Kidd is on the show. You got Sir George. I'm sure the evolution of some other ones will end up coming through, and we just try to make it entertaining for the listener, and I do think Derek, you pointed out we are father and son. That's we do think that makes it unique and gives us kind of a dynamic that we may not be comfortable saying some things to some other people at times. So I think it adds an element of entertainment. So we're very excited to join up with Tired Sports Network and the shows and the growth, and we think it's going to be a huge positive for all involved, and that's why we're here. And let's not talk about the Cowboys tonight.
Yeah, well, we might just touch on them just a hair, but that'll be about it. That's about all they did. So kind of before we get jumped into it, I'm going to play our first ad, and then we'll get right into some sports talk.
At Hoswell Customs, we do custom apparel using embroidery, DTF full-color graphics, engraved leather patches, and supply full lines of promotional products like engraved tumblers, notepads, pins, and so much more. Y'all should go check it out.
All right, let's thank our Brian Todd at RT Graphics and Buzz Builders and Hallsville Customs. We appreciate you guys allowing us to do this. I mean, y'all sponsor us, and we send some stuff y'all's way. But again, we just appreciate y'all kind of believing in us and allowing us to kind of hang out with everybody and talk some good sports. So with that being said, so here we go. We'll let's talk about the Navy game first. We got two Navy guys on here. Did either one of you watch the game or anything?
I did.
Yeah.
Go Navy, beat Army.
Navy beat Army.
Yeah. Good.
Horvath went 95 up the middle. The longest run in the history of Navy, I believe.
Yes, it was. It was pretty awesome, actually. Yeah, I just think it's about this game with Navy and OU. It just, to me, I think there was a lot of expectations for OU this year coming in the SEC, like Texas, and it just kind of cracks me up a little bit, even of how they have just OU kind of fell off. But the fact that Navy this year was so good, we haven't had that in a long time. The fact that they're finishing the year at 10-3. We saw Navy do something this year to me they haven't done ever really, and that's be able to pass the ball. Yeah, and that's so it was nice. It was nice the fact that we beat Army. I think we came in as big underdogs in that game. But it's been a really good year for the midshipmen in my mind. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
when them and man, we were talking earlier in one of the shows. We were thinking Army Navy was going to be a potential top 15-ish matchup, and one of them going to the college football playoff. They both ran into Notre Dame, though, unfortunately, who I cannot stand. I mean, y'all can go back and look at all of our podcasts. I cannot stand Notre Dame. I think they should be in a conference. I don't think they made the college football playoff. I think they should be the 12th seed because they don't play the conference championship. They don't play the conference schedule. But I will tell you about the Navy game. I loved Oklahoma going for 2. You go for the win. You score right there. You haven't stopped them really all day. You go for the win.
Right.
A lot of people don't believe in that, but I do. I think if you're playing from behind pretty much the whole game and you finally get a chance to go for that win, I think you got to take it. And I'm like you. I don't think Oklahoma is built for the SEC yet. Now I think they could possibly get there because I think that is a prime location. I think they need a coaching change, and they need to get more athletic. They're athletic on no side of the ball. They're not the old Oklahoma that we used to know.
Yeah, and watching the Navy game, I've watched Navy on and off all year, and I mean, I talked about the Army Navy game last week. There's no game like that. I love it that it's on a weekend of its own. And Horvath is a junior, so he's going to be back next year as a senior quarterback. So watch out for Navy next year as well. He may be a quote unquote dark horse Heisman candidate if he keeps up what he's been doing. He won't win it because they won't.
Yeah,
it's not
they won't let that happen
for the Heisman voters. But just like people were saying, the Army quarterback was in the Heisman race for most of the season until that Notre Dame loss. And OU, wow, what a drop off. You think OU's been like, man, maybe we should have stayed in the Big 12.
Maybe we should have stayed. But now the only problem with that is that was a package deal. The SEC wasn't taking one without the other. Now, I don't like that.
Right.
Especially because it kills the OU-Oklahoma State rivalry. Like, they're not going to play Bedlam anymore. And I don't like that at all. Like, when Texas and A&M split conferences, and that erase that rivalry. I think that's a bad look for college football as a whole, especially for the in-state kids that like that game. I mean, they look forward to that game.
Yeah, if you talked about the Texas A&M split, if you look at what it came back this year, and just the excitement, and just the for the lack of a better term, since you just used the bedlam around that game, it was incredible. And so I understand it was a package deal. I think with this new format, Texas and OU probably should have stayed in the Big 12, because it's almost one of those two
would have been the champ
to win the Big 12 and be in the champion in the playoff every year.
Yep.
So I think ultimately it ended up being a mistake. I know the money may be a little bit better, but I didn't look at the contracts. But yeah, OU's got to do what Texas did in their recruiting, and they got to get bigger.
Yeah.
In the SEC.
The line, that's the difference. The line is the difference from Big 12 to SEC. I mean, you can tell. And I think they're all about the same size, but man, it's different in the trenches in the SEC versus what it was in the Big 12, because the Big 12 didn't have a defense. So those offensive linemen didn't have to be those big hogs that are up front stopping people. Mm-hmm. And so I think, yes, they do need to kind of redirect their recruiting. And then we go to the Army game and the Independence Bowl. We were there last night. Let me tell you something. Daly is a big dude. When you're 40, 50 yards from him, he is massive. He is much bigger than he is on TV. And he probably could have had a whole lot more rushing yards, but there were certain times last night that he was pitching when he should have just kept it. And it's like he was trying to get everybody involved, which is good. I mean, he's a senior, so he didn't want all the glory, I guess you could say. Like you were talking about, he was up for the Heisman at one point. So Josh actually had him second in his Heisman up until the Notre Dame game. I mean, he jumped up Josh's board. And then Notre Dame hit, and it was just kind of over with after that. Louisiana Tech was just not a good football team. Before we got there, me and Dustin, I said 42 to 17 was the final, 27-6. I mean, it was all Navy. I mean, it was all Army. They could do whatever they wanted to do. But I did have a question, since y'all are kind of Navy guys. How does the they go to Army or Navy on scholarship to play football, correct?
Yes.
Now, after they play their 4 years, do they have to serve in that force, or can they? If they get what if they get drafted? Say Daly was to go first overall.
So they have a small exception on the drafting part of it. Like if you remember David Robinson,
that's what I was thinking.
Yep. The academy.
Yep.
They'll have to serve some of their time. Because when you go to the academy, it's an 8-year minimum commitment after your college is over. So
8 years after?
Yes, it sounds worse than it is. It's 4 years active, 4-year reserve minimum.
Oh, okay.
Which you can create that. At least that was when I looked into it back in the day. It may be different, but I think there's an exceptions at times, but I think the Navy and the government is going to get their money back from their investment in some way, shape, or form.
Linda
that's my fiance. She's saying hi.
Oh, there we go.
So I text her. I was like, "Hey, check the live feed, see if y'all can see it." So.
I told my wife the same thing. So yeah, everything is good. So yeah, that was what we were kind of talking about last night. We weren't 100% sure how the draft kind of eligibility worked after if you got drafted. Because we were talking about Daly. He reminds me of Taysom Hill from the Saints. We thought he could play some kind of role like that for any NFL team, really. I mean, I think he's not a great passer. I think Hill's actually a decent passer. But Daly's a good runner. I think he could be a good special teams guy, maybe even a returner. but yeah, that's just kind of what we were talking about on that end last night. Fresno State, there was a lot of overtime games in this bowl season so far. You got the Northern Illinois in the Fresno State. I really thought Fresno State was going to win this one. I think their running game was a little better. I'm a runner. I'm a ground and pound type person. I think if you run the ball, control the clock, you should win the game. And I don't think Fresno State did that. I think they tried to run with them and shoot out with them, and it didn't work out for them on that end. I didn't watch a whole lot of that one. I kind of caught the last half of the fourth, and then the overtime. But the South Florida and the San Jose State game, I watched that one. I watched every bit of that game. That was a game. That was a great game. And you don't think that from a 7-6 South Florida and a 7-6 San Jose State. The quarterback for San Jose. Go ahead.
This was a 5 overtime one, right?
This was the 5 overtime game. Yes.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about the new overtime rule? That's something I was going to ask as well tonight. Do you like that they have to go for 2 after the second overtime, or do you think they should line up on the 20 and go?
I think it's fine. I mean, it's a lot better than the stupid kickoff rule in the NFL now, or the way they're doing the kickoff.
Yeah, I do agree with that as well.
Which I think we'll touch on when we get to NFL. But.
You know, they tried to shorten the overtime, and it really has came back and not hurt them, but it's still the same length in the games because now you're trying to score from the 3 instead of the 20. So I don't really know what they gained from it.
No.
But yeah, it's hard to talk about the smaller kind of bowl games because some of them you might not watch because depending on the time frame and stuff like that. Another one here I watched, the Toledo and Pitt game. 6 overtime. So you had a 5 and a 6.
That was a new record, right? 6 overtimes was a new record, wasn't it?
Yeah. The Vander Ross kid from Toledo is unreal. I don't know if y'all watched that game, but that kid is super fast. He looked like he reminded me of Darren Sproul. That's who he reminded me of. Just real quick, like when he got the ball, it was like 0 to 400. I mean, he just went. And it was just a really good game. Pitt scored thought they won the game twice. They ran on the field. It was crazy. It was just a wild game. I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if y'all watched.
And I did not get a chance to watch it, but I heard that game took 5-something hours to play because of all the overtime.
Because of all the overtimes, and then they, like I said, they stormed the field twice, and they had to get everybody back off and reset the chains and do all this. Look at the replay, which theoretically I guess should have been a penalty, because if not, that's excessive celebration or whatever you want. Same thing with the Arizona State BYU, Arizona State BYU a few weeks ago. They had to clear the students off the field. Then the Kansas State, I thought they were going to be better than they were this year. They were still good. I mean, the Johnson kid's going to be a good quarterback. I think him and the Arizona State quarterback Levitt are going to run the Big 12 the next couple of years.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I noticed about college this year. There seemed to be, to me, not just overtime games throughout the year, but some really, really close games that really changed in the last couple of minutes. I can't remember the one college game I watched, but it was in the last 2 minutes. I think there were 4 touchdowns scored. And literally the clock ran out. It could not stop the defense, but it seemed like a lot of games in college were that way this year.
Yeah, offensively, I think this was probably one of the best college years. I mean, you look at Sanders from Colorado, Ward, McCord at Syracuse. I mean, these guys are putting up astronomical numbers, and it was fun to watch. Like we talked about this before. I think this was a perfect year to start kind of our podcast because there was so much going on and so much hype around things. You know, the WNBA is kind of getting a little bit more traction and gaining with Clark and them. And then you got Juju Watkins and Paige Becker's coming in, you know, the next 2 or 3 years. I don't know if y'all are a Paige fan, but Dallas got the #1 pick. So Paige is coming to Dallas. So that'll be something cool to kind of go watch.
Yeah, by the way, I'd like to clear the air on the longest overtime game ever is 9 overtimes in 2021 when the Illinois Illini beat Penn State.
Illinois, that's right. And that beat out the A&M LSU one.
So now it may be the biggest bowl game or record for a bowl game overtime.
Oh yeah. That was the biggest record for a bowl game, not overall. Yeah. I'm sorry.
On your WNBA question, I being a basketball coach, I am aware of those 2 college players. I think Paige Beckers is a phenomenal player. I think Juju Watkins is a high volume scorer that doesn't make her teammates too much better.
100%.
She had the 40, 50-point game recently with 1 assist.
Yeah.
Which is to me almost impossible. But I think Caitlin Clark. We've talked about her a lot, as most podcasts have. I think what you're going to battle in the WNBA is the law of diminishing returns. Is when you've seen her play, do you want to see her go again? Was it a spectacular? I think there's so much pressure on her to perform every night, and when she doesn't, it is a disappointment. So it's almost like she's been on this pedestal. I think she had a great rookie year, well-deserved rookie of the year. But I think the numbers are not going to be as high as they were last year. I think it's going to start slipping down.
For the league or for her?
For the league and for her. I think it'll be a small drop this coming year. I don't think it'll be a huge drop, but I think you're going to be fighting. When people have seen it, they've seen it. I think the cachet of for the league and for her. Whoa! I think it'll be sorry. I was checking on a live stream and it popped up on there. So I do think ultimately you're going to fight that as a league and as Caitlin Clark, not including the political aspect of her Time magazine interview and stuff like that. But just even before that happened, I think you're fighting an uphill battle as a league, because even with Caitlin Clark, they still lost $40 million as a league.
Exactly. There's got to be something done about it. That's a whole other thing. We can talk about that for a while.
Sean, what's your thoughts?
I was gonna say, like, I had this conversation the other day. I know I've been very quiet. I'm sorry. I'm recovering from a night out at the casino last night. So,
there you go.
No, I was gonna say I agree. In the draw will diminish a little bit, but I think it's exactly, you kind of hit the nail on the head, Casey. With it's the whole thing between her and
Reese
Angel, Angel Reese. I'm like, all right, you've seen that. Like, it's not like it's professional wrestling where you can drag this out for every single year for 3-4 years. It's just like, it's, and that's scripted and all. Like, we saw it. You saw how good she is, but like you said, unless you're performing every single night and yet you still lose $40 million in a year, it's, as a league, it's not going to be a bigger as big of a draw every single year like this, unless you're getting someone like that every single year coming into a team and just taking over pretty much. And how often are you going to see that happen? All the time, you know what I mean?
Right.
And when you talk about,
go Go ahead, Pops.
I was going to say, when you talk about diminishing returns, the NBA right now is on a downslide.
A huge
So,
downslide.
Huge.
So in the WNBA is just kind of a lower tier of the NBA. So they're all going to suffer from that. I mean, and 2 years ago, did any of us really know the players on the WNBA teams? I mean, we might have known a few, but
Yeah.
this year was kind of a lift up of that. But
So me and my boss
the
kind of hit on that.
NBA's got to figure it out.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
and my boss hit on that. So he brought up a point that he was like, I'm checking my phone now on ESPN, seeing what WNBA teams play tonight. He said, if you'd have told me that 3 years ago, he said, I would ask you to slap me. He said, because that was just unheard of. But now you're kind of wanting to play whatever side of the fence you're on, the Clark side, because I'm going to tell you point blank, Asia Wilson is the best basketball player in the WNBA. It's not Clark.
Yes.
It's not Reese. It's not nothing. It's Asia Wilson. And the whole Clark versus Reese thing, I do not like that because they don't play the same position. They don't guard each other. That's why the Brady versus Manning rivalry. They're on the same side of the ball. It's not like Ed Reed versus Peyton Manning or Ray Lewis versus Brady. Now that's a rivalry.
Well, I think that people tried to bill it as the women's new version of Bird Magic.
Bird and Magic, 100%
and
agree.
Here's the problem with that in Clark and Reese's issue here. Clark is on that level. Reese is not.
Is not.
If you watch, I mean, Reese, she might be the worst layup finisher in the NBA, WNBA. Like, I mean, half her rebound record was her own offensive rebounds of missing.
I agree.
But when you see all these people
rebounder.
but when you see all these people trying to defend Reese against Clark, they're not bringing up any of that. It's now she can compete with her and all this, and it's just like you're not watching the same game as everybody else. Then you're not.
Right.
Yeah, that's being a blind fan rather than understanding basketball. Like, this is
Right.
what I've always told people about women's basketball. If you want to see a more fundamental game versus the men's game, watch women's basketball. You'll actually see more traditional basketball, pick and roll, bounce pass, hit ahead.
Yeah.
When you watch the NBA, you want to see the high flying, the alley-oops, those type of things versus and the NBA. And you can make this argument in men's versus women's sports on a whole scale, and that's not really where I think we want to take this. But the WNBA versus the NBA is more aesthetically pleasing before recent years to watch because you're flying over. You got T-Mac dunking on a 7'4" or 7'6" Sean Bradley. You got Mutombo going up, and then you have Jordan wagging his finger dunking. You don't have any of that in the women's game. And you have some that can dunk, but they ain't no one jumping over people. You're not seeing Vince Carter in the Olympics jumping over a dude and nutmegging him. Like,
yeah. Let me ask you this. Shaq brought this point up. I don't know if you heard it in an interview he did. Do you think the WNBA would be better if the rims were 9 foot? 8.5 now, because it would allow those dunks. It would allow those there would be more dunking in the WNBA. Now, again, they're not flying over anybody. They're not jumping from the free throw line, anything like that. But it would just add a whole different element to it.
I don't know. I think it would almost cheapen their product.
I agree with you 100%. I think it should stay where it's at.
Like, y'all can't even play on 10-foot rims, and and then if the WNBA does that, then you gotta filter that down all the way down to high school and having adjustable rims, and I think that's a whole mess in itself. But I think it would cheapen the product. I think it would turn more people off. Be like, oh yeah, did you see this dunk? Like, man, I can do that in my driveway on a 9-foot rim. Like,
right.
I don't think that would be a good move.
So, okay, we're going to have a lot of time to talk on a little bit more extra stuff. But we're going to get into some kind of big news this coming week. college football playoff. Oh, let me do that again. There we go. Yeah, I hit it, and then my hand hit the enter button and took it back off. Who wants to
Euro
jump in on
step.
this one? Yeah, the Euro step. Mr. Eddie, you want to kind of kick us off on this? Well, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, it's funny because I talked about Penn State for the year, saying I really thought, and they proved me wrong. I thought they were kind of pretenders in that top 5 and in the top 10. I thought they hadn't really proven anything, and it seemed like they were winning without the challenge to me. But they proved me wrong in a lot of ways. So to me, this game is going to come down to the Penn State defense trying to control the running game of Boise State. So if they can at least curtail that some, then they have a chance. But it's to me what's really cool about this is seeing Boise State come in here and get a chance at this, because I don't remember them ever being a contender like this, at least for a long time. And maybe that's just me forgetting because I'm old. But
I think they've had a bunch of winning seasons, but as far as I think the 12-team playoff really played to their strength of schedule. I mean, that's the reason they're here. If we don't have the 12th team, I don't think they're the third seed.
No. So yeah, I think they have a good chance. I still think Penn State is probably going to pull this off.
Nope.
I'm going to tell you right now, me and Dustin both, I have them going to the Natty. Dustin has them winning the national championship.
Boise or Penn?
Boise.
Boise. All right, well, that's just crazy talk. But there's got to be an upset somewhere. There's got to be one, right? It was all chalk in the first round. Okay, and Boise's going to beat Penn State. If you watch our show, in the last few weeks, I've done my bracket. I had Boise beating Penn State. I don't think Penn State was pretenders. I was about to say, you better not be pandering to Penn State fans there, Pops, like you did Eagles and Giants and Redskin or Commander fans, okay, like you did at the beginning of the show, because you don't like any of them. Don't even try that crap.
I was just saying I love the fans. I didn't say I like the teams.
You don't like
I like the banter back and forth, especially against the Washington Commies. I call them the Washington Commies. Stupidest name ever in the history of
you're really
coming up with
endearing
names.
yourself to their fan base by nicknaming them that. But Boise State, I think Genty has another great game, and I just see the upset with this one.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
I definitely will say the minus 11 for Penn State is immediately, I'm like, no chance. Even if Penn State wins, I'm like, there's no chance that they're covering 11 points. I just feel like Penn State took advantage of SMU, and now you're going against Boise, who is number 2 in turnovers. They just don't turn the ball over. So now you're relying on Penn State again to try and take advantage of a team that doesn't mess up very often.
Exactly.
So, and I'm like, I don't. I mean, I agree with Casey. I could definitely see this being the upset. I don't.
A lot of people
11 spread killed me.
A lot of people don't understand that. Yeah, Boise State is all about Genty. They're going to feed him the rock. They're going to do this, but they have an SEC type of offensive line. They have a great offensive line. If you go and actually look at, it might have been like our third or fourth show. I did like a 15-minute intro just about the Boise State line. I mean, they 2 of them have gave up 0 sacks. 1 of them gave up 0 pressures all year. They're getting to the second level. They trust each other. I mean, they're amazing.
Oh crap! Did I do something wrong? My bad.
You're good. You're good.
Quit playing with stuff.
There we go.
Rookie.
But and the quarterback is actually a good quarterback. We just don't hear of him a lot because he turns and hands the ball off to Genty 90% of the time. Which, if it's working, why stop doing it? You know, I mean, I think it's going to.
And I guess I'm the only one who's picking Penn State to pull this off. But my thing is if they can't get the running game going, I mean, I know that's a stretch, but if Penn State, because that's all they're focused on is stopping the run, then does Boise State have enough to get them over the finish line without that super running game that they have? That's my question on that, because I know Penn State is going to be focused on that big time.
I agree, but they played 13 games, and 13 teams have been focused on the run, and only one team has stopped them, and that was Oregon. But he still had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns against Oregon. So the quarterback he's got 2,700 yards, 62% completion. He's 22 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So, like I said, the quarterback is a good quarterback. I mean, his numbers are there. Doesn't turn the ball over. So you almost have to. I would not be surprised if we don't see a lot of play action because just of what you said. They're going to load up in the box and try to stop Genty. If Genty has anywhere from 100 to 120 yards, and that quarterback is 200 yards or more passing, this could be a big win for Boise State, especially going forward, because now teams aren't going to be able to load up the box. And that's going to – Genty will have a field day the next week against Georgia or Notre Dame or whoever they play the following week.
Yeah, I just think, once again, if I talk about pretenders, Boise State, the running game you can't get away from that. But when you look at their strength of schedule, I mean, when they take on a team that's highly ranked, which was Oregon, I don't think they took on anybody else that was besides UNLV, which
UNLV, they played them twice.
Yeah. So I just think it's going to be a test for Boise, and we'll see. But I think Penn State is out because I've gone against them most of the year, and they proved me wrong. So maybe I'll be wrong this time.
Maybe you're wrong this time. Oh, what about this one? I know there's 3 Aggies on here. We would like to see the big upset here, but I don't know if we will.
It's Texas. Horns down, but it's Texas.
Is it 13.5 though, or?
I mean, ASU is. I mean, God, that's a big spread. If I'm betting on the game, I'm probably taking Arizona State with that spread. But I think Texas wins the game. I think their defense is too good, even though ASU has been hot lately.
Yeah, Scatterboo, man. He if they control the clock, I think they have time. Have a chance. But if they try to get into a shootout with them, I don't think they win that game. I don't even think it's close.
No, because I agree too. The Texas, as much as I can't stand that burnt orange puke color, I do think that their defense is what's very, very strong. I mean, you look back when the Aggies played them, that defense is just very, very dominant up front.
Mm-hmm.
And Arizona's quarterback, he's going to be running for his life in my mind. So
I'm worried about him being a freshman. I'm worried about kind of what he's going to look like coming out there. This is a big stage for him. I mean, this is college football playoffs. This is Texas. This is the biggest game he's played in to this point in his career.
Yep. I agree.
Sean, anything on this one?
No, that's sorry. I wasn't even
No,
on this
you're
game.
good. Ohio State as the favorite. What do you think about that?
So I have Oregon winning the whole thing.
Okay,
And
so that lets us know what you're gonna do here.
yeah. I mean, I know all my Buckeye people out there. I was stationed in Columbus, Ohio, for 5 years, so I'm very familiar with the area. I'm very familiar with the fanaticism in the Buckeye Nation. I even taught Linda the OH chant because you can't get out of there without learning that. But I think they're going to get ducked. I think Oregon has been shown they're the best team in the country, undefeated. Another team that went to a new conference and won the conference. I mean, it's basically a Pac-12 team that ran through the Big Ten, which I think is
That's
interesting.
exactly what it is.
And I'm saying duck, quack, quack.
I agree. I think Ohio State and which is going to bring up an interesting scenario because I've said all along, and other folks have said this too, that if Ohio State, because of everything that continues to happen when they play Michigan and the coach losing every single year to that, if he doesn't win the national championship, he may be on his way out. But
sources have confirmed that. I saw a thing last week that said Ryan Day is on a championship or fire campaign right now. Yeah, they've confirmed that.
Which is
crazy because I think it's really based off the Michigan game more than it is anything else.
Yeah,
and because he's a good coach. I mean, they're a good team. It's just that one team, and it happens. There's certain teams that have your number, so to speak. But I agree with what Casey said. I think it's the battle of the big O's, and I think the Ducks are going to pull this out. They've just proven all year they're consistent. They're high flying, and they're a great team.
Yeah,
so I just don't
I have
see
them winning
Ohio
as
being
well.
able to do.
Not only the game, but I have them winning the whole thing as well. But I will tell you, when we first kind of did our bracket, I had Ohio State, Oregon, and I had Oregon beating them pretty handedly in this game. I don't have that anymore. That Ohio State team that played Tennessee last week was unbelievable. They hit on all cylinders. The quarterback for Ohio State looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate. I mean, everything they did last week was amazing. The defense, the front seven looked amazing. I mean, they were getting to Nico. I mean, it was unreal. So I have it a little bit closer. I still have it as a 13-point win for Oregon. I think they still beat them by double digits. But yeah, I think it's going to be a whole different game. They've had their rest. They're not beat up. Ohio State had to play last week, but they are coming in hot. Like I said, they roughed up Tennessee, and I'm curious to see this one on Wednesday.
Yeah, I took Oregon, and I think Oregon wins like 32-28. I think it'll be close, but
okay.
I think Dylan's been looking better and better
every week.
That's why every week. So I'm just ride the hot hand. So that's just kind of where I was on this one.
Yep, I agree. Oh,
you're lucky Scott's not here. He's riding Notre Dame to the end.
Yeah. So I had Georgia, but I had no idea that Beck was not playing until last Friday, I think. I did not know Beck was out. This is going to come down to Georgia's defense. And I don't think there's any other factor in this game besides Georgia's defense. If Georgia's defense shows up the way they played Texas the first time that they played, Georgia wins this game because Beck had 3 turnovers in that game and the defense carried them. because it's not hard to win a game when your average starting field position is your opponent's 35 yards. It's not hard to win that game. If the defense doesn't show up, Notre Dame could possibly win this one by double digits. And I am not a Notre Dame fan at all. Like I told you, Notre Dame and Colorado are on the same level. I don't like either one of them. But that's kind of where I see this game going. Pretty simple. And it's the nightcap, so that'll be a good one.
Well, I have Notre Dame going to the national championship, so
Wow.
I have them meeting Boise State in the next round and then beating Boise State. Beck being out, which he wasn't playing that great when he was in there.
Yeah, I agree.
But the freshman behind is it Beck of a freshman? Am I right on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked shook when he got in there. To me, I mean, he made some plays with his legs, but I think you're going into the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans against the Irish that are really, really good. I don't think this is the Georgia defense of the past few years. They've lost a lot, and I know they reload, but it's not the Carters and Deans and those guys to me. So, Beck being out, I think, changes the game wholeheartedly. And ultimately, Notre Dame takes this, and I think they'll win. I think it might be close because of their defense is still solid. But I think it's Notre Dame by 3, 5, maybe a touchdown.
Okay.
Yeah, for me,
I got Notre Dame winning.
I think it's I think Notre Dame wins this, as much as I hate to say it, because I actually would rather Georgia get to the national championship and prove that the old SEC still owns it and not the Longhorns. But that's just my irk in that, so to speak. But yeah, I think Notre Dame has got a lot to prove. But yeah, I know we talked about this not on the air, but I do think Notre Dame, these independent teams, now that everybody's going to these big conferences and everything, they need to get everybody in a conference with this, because to me, it throws a little kink in this whole playoff thing.
Well,
so
I mean,
I really think they should get into conferences.
If you're the Irish, why would you do it? Because you have your own TV deal, which is very lucrative with NBC, I do believe.
Well, I'm not saying they want to, but it needs.
The thing that I don't like,
they are eliminated from any first round bye ever. Like, they can't get seeded in the top 4.
Yeah, they could be ranked number 1 in the nation and still get the 5th seed.
Correct.
Because they don't play. But see, what I don't like, they're in the ACC in basketball.
Well, they've done that for years.
Right.
They're in ACC for everything else. And matter of fact, I think they may have been Big Ten before they went ACC for everything else.
Maybe. But something else I didn't like, in 2020 when COVID hit and they were only playing conference games, what did Notre Dame do? Notre Dame called around and said, hey, Big Ten, can we come join the conference for this year? Hey, Pac-12, can we join the conference for this year? The ACC was the only one that took them in the COVID year. If I'm the ACC, I say, yeah, you want to come to the ACC? You're going to sign a 10-year agreement, and you're going to be part of the ACC for 10 years. I wouldn't have let them walk in there for a year just so they could have a schedule. Like, you want to be independent? Be independent. You reap what you sow. That's my biggest knock against Notre Dame. Like, it's time. Eventually, there's going to be 5 super conferences the way everything's going. And if you're not in there, you're kind of screwed. And I think Notre Dame has to be in the mix with you're screwed. You're not in the conference.
Yeah, I agree.
But
for sure.
Okay, well, I'm gonna throw another ad up real quick, and then we'll move on to some NFL. Wild Roots Photography. That's my sister. Appreciate her doing that, and again supporting us. So here we go. We'll talk about the big game first. The Vikings and the Green Bay. See, Sean was smiling. He thought I was going to talk about the other game first.
No, I knew you were setting me up right as soon as you put it up. So,
I'm just gonna put my hand in front of that part of the screen.
On the other side of the screen. Man, the Vikings almost lost this one. I cannot believe Green Bay came back. I thought the Vikings were in control. The Viking helmet.
You can't see the horns with the background, can you?
With the background, no.
This is like perfect for the UT. The horns are cut off. I like that. So,
Sam, I don't know about Sam Darnold. One week he plays top 5 quarterback in the league. The next week he plays bottom 10. He's all over the place. But when he's good, he's actually playing pretty good this year, I think. The Vikings have a semi-running game. I don't know really. I didn't watch all of this. I was trying to get ready for tonight. I don't know where the game kind of got away from them at. But man, this division, I think we can all probably agree, the best division in football. I mean, with these two and the Lions, the Bears are hot garbage, so we don't count them. But the other three are just so good that the Bears are irrelevant anyway. But yeah, I mean, do y'all think Sam Darnold can lead them to a Super Bowl?
I've been rolling with them all year, and I think it's part of it's a chip on the shoulder type deal. But I just think right now that team they find a way to win, and Darnold has. No one expected that, right? No one expected to be talking about Darnold as a possible MVP candidate this year. But
he wasn't even the
just
starter.
Continue to roll.
McCarthy was going to be the starter. They drafted him at, 9 or 12, something like that?
Yep.
It's almost like a Brady and Bledsoe situation right here, except just the other way around.
Yep. Yeah, I just think they are finding ways to win, and that's what me and Casey have gone back and forth about this, but my thing is you win. The Chiefs haven't tore up a lot of teams this year. They barely won a lot of games, but a win's a win. It's not college where you get ranked for how bad you beat somebody. All you want is wins versus losses.
That's it. I agree.
And that's what they seem to keep doing.
Yeah.
Do you think there's quarterback controversy next year in Minnesota?
I do.
You do?
I think you spend a first round pick on that high, and that tells me you didn't think much of Sam Darnold when you signed him. And I think just like your boy Campbell in the 49ers, he knew he was a placeholder for Greenlaw. I think Sam Darnold knows he's a placeholder for J.J. McCarthy.
Yep.
Now, Sam Darnold's not dumb enough to do what Campbell did and quit on his team. But ultimately, Sam Darnold's has been very impressive this year. I will give credit to the old man. He has been riding with the Vikings all year if you watched us throughout the season. And it's and he took his background off. So
now you can see the hat.
Now you can see the hat.
On. There we go.
But ultimately, I think can they win a Super Bowl with him? Sure. I think there's enough weapons around him with Jones at running back, with Jefferson, with Addison, with Hawkinson at the tight end. I think they can. Will they? No. But next year, controversy, 100%. I think they give Sam. I think he'll probably earn the starting job. Let JJ sit for a little bit, and if they don't come out of the gate hot, sorry, Sam.
Make the switch.
Go enjoy your green eggs and ham on the sideline.
Yeah. Much like that's what Atlanta's doing right now. They came out with Kirk Cousins and they were hot. Cousins has fizzled off, and now they put Penix in. I mean, like you said, you draft a guy that high, especially somebody like Penix who's 27, I think, 27, 26, however old he is. So that's that's an old rookie that you have right there. You want to see if he's theoretically in his prime right now as a rookie, age-wise. And he looks good. I mean, I know we're not talking about Atlanta right now, but I mean, he doesn't look bad. But Sean, any take on that?
No, go ahead. Finish what you were gonna say.
I was going to say, unfortunately for the Vikings, they're going to run into the Lions, and that's unfortunate for them. That I just think that Detroit is strong this year, and I think if you put Goff against Darnold, Goff is going to come out on top.
That,
in my mind,
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I do in the fact of how many injuries can that Lions defense overcome?
Yeah,
it's not just
that's true. That's true.
It's injury after injury after injury, and I just don't know if their offense can keep carrying their defense. You know, and
they also lost the running back. Montgomery got hurt last week.
Yes, Montgomery went down. You're right. So
once Dallas got eliminated from the playoffs last week, Detroit was my pick to go to the Super Bowl for the NFC. It was Dallas. It's always Dallas until they get eliminated. I don't care what the record is. It's always Dallas.
You're making us lose credibility in this room. In this.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, with the Vikings and Lions, like it's just all you've heard about for so long has been the Lions, and I'm just like, I agree. Like you kind of were not us in general, but like people were just sleeping on the Vikings because I think for exactly what you said, like they have Jones, they have Jefferson, those two names, but like Darnold, he's so hot or cold at any point that it's just like, for your question on can he lead them or have them win a Super Bowl, I mean, and I trust me, I'm not trying to throw Nick Foles into the conversation here to bring it up, but I mean, like, if you get hot at the right time with a quarterback, like,
absolutely,
you don't know what the hell can happen at any time. I mean, ask any Eagles fan. The second Carson Wentz went down, we literally everybody in this city. Okay, there's probably 3 people who are now come out and be like, no, I never said it, but everyone thought, no, season's over, we're done. It was fun while it lasted. No one thought we were going to win the Super Bowl, even beat the Vikings or anything at that point.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you get hot, why not? But I agree. No, I don't think it's going to happen. But I mean, and just like Casey said, like, at what point are the Lions gonna, like, how can they keep just? Coasting's not the word I wanted. Like treading along, I guess.
Yeah, they're treading
with
water.
what they have.
Yeah, they're treading water for sure.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing that makes the Vikings scary is the immersion of Jordan Addison. He seems to keep getting better each week, and now it's taking pressure off of Jefferson, and that too high safety is now having to play kind of both sides of the field. They can't cheat to one side because Addison, and he just keeps getting better and better and better each week. And I'm not even talking about 8 catches for 92 yards like Jefferson has right here. Addison might have 4 for 40, but it's good yards, and it at least brings the attention to his side. And that's going to be huge for them as the playoffs start and going forward, even until next year, it'll be big for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then this other game. I mean, I'm just going to I'll start off by saying this. We got them right where we want them, boys. Like, we're in the perfect draft position now. We could have went out and won this game, but we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to win this game. We're doing draft picks here. Like, that's where we're at.
You want to show the New York Giants how to do it.
Yeah, we're trying to show people how to do it.
Yeah. Thank you to the Giants today for just totally screwing themselves.
Yes.
It totally feeds into the type of year that they have had. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
Now, so I did see something. Now this is kind of off track. Philly should let the Giants win next week because now it would push them to, I think, the 4th pick if they win, and they would miss out on the top 2 quarterbacks. So they would set themselves back even further, missing on the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft, in Shador and Ward. That would be funny. That would be hilarious. But yeah.
I legitimately have no idea what our coaching staff is going to do and if they're going to actually start starters or anybody this week.
If I'm Barkley, I at least want to try to get the record, especially against the Giants.
Yeah, and I feel like that would just – it's all lining up to just work out that way. But at the same time, it's just like, how do you risk it, you know?
Yeah.
For what your main goal is. And it was funny. I talked to a coworker of mine last week, and we were talking about how it was probably 6-7 weeks ago when he had a chance to break the single game record for the Eagles, and he said no, like put the rookies in, it's fine, let them play, like let them do their thing, I'm good. And then he ended up doing it like 2 or 3 games later anyway. I mean, at that point, that was pretty much what, half of a quarter left or something like that, if I remember right. I mean, who knows what he would need at that point or at this point now to break the all-time record, because he needs like 100 and something.
No,
left.
he needed 268, I think, entering the day,
and he got 160 today.
Yeah, so he needs 80 yards, 85 yards, something like that.
I think they said 102. Yeah. It was something like that. But I'm like, all right, imagine if he stayed in, got another 30, 40 yards. Now he only needs 60 yards rushing, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know what's going to happen. This is going to turn into like a typical bet that I place where I'm going to be like, oh, he needs 60 yards, he gets 59, like something like that. It's something to screw me over.
Well, I'm going to chime in on this one. Not on the game. That was we knew as soon as CD was like, I'm done, I'm not playing. We knew that was going to be a massacre, even with Kenny Pickett at quarterback. As far as the record goes, when you have a chance at immortality, you go get the chance at immortality. That rushing, even though asterisks next to it, because it's 17 games and not 16 games.
Right.
That's my only thing, is if he got it today, I kind of like, all right, cool. It is the record. But you go put your name at the top of the list if you can put your name at the top of the list.
100%.
Like, I know there's injury risk, and if he gets hurt, people will be like, you should have held him out. You can't live with that. You got to live with your decision. If Saquon wants to go for it, let him go for it. Try to get it to him, and let him live in infamy, as FDR would say.
I think you put a limit on it. Like, I think you give him till half to get it. If he gets it, great. If not, I don't think he plays the whole game, because now you're 4 quarters in.
No. I think the whole focus this week will be, look, guys, we've already sewn up what we needed to do, but we have this one thing we need to work on. And I want everybody to kind of focus on that this week. Once we get it, then we'll let some other people play. But at this point, that's really, I mean, you've got the division sewn up. You're going in just fine. Hurts was a little still banged up. So it's why risk it, except for what Casey's talking about. How often does that come along? How long's that record been there? Since 80 something?
Yeah.
And so, I think that's their focus this week. Hopefully that's what Sirianni's doing, is talking about, let's just focus on this, let's get this, and then I'm going to put everybody else you're going to rest.
I also think they start McKee instead of Pickett, because it seemed like every time Pickett got hit today, he was getting ready to just, I don't know, go off on pressure. So I wonder, like, because Hurts ain't going to play. And who knows what Pickett's going to be like. So I'm like, all right, you're obviously going to rest your starter, and now you're back up.
Yeah.
But I agree. Give him to the half. See what happens.
So I think I'm on the. Go ahead.
Half. So I believe our man Michael Dawson in the comments said it's like 101, 102 yards right here. Is if he's let's say he gets half
He's
that
at 90.
But let's say he gets half that in the half, and he's 50 yards away.
Yeah.
That's a tough.
Are you going to live by your principle or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, probably not. That's all I was going to say. It's just like, what if he has 90 yards? Like, you're really not going to put him back out there for 11, 12 yards or something like that, and just.
Now I will tell you, I'm probably on the opposite side of this with a lot of people, and I want to get y'all's take on it. A few years ago, Dak's rookie year, Cowboys won the division. What did they do? They set Dak out the last game of the season. Then he had the bye. Then he finally played 3 weeks later, and they got destroyed in the playoffs. I don't think that you sit out and get that long of a rest. Now, I think you play, because he could have got hurt today. You're already in the playoffs. Why not just sit out today? You know, what's the difference between this week and next week? Or 3 weeks ago when you clinched and this week? I mean, you're just talking about rest now. I think they play. You know, you're paid to play. Maybe not as much. Maybe instead of 27 plays today, you're going to play 17. But I think you still play. You still do what they ask you to do. And that goes for everybody across the board, offensively and defensively. Rotate your guys in, but don't just sit them out because, like I said, you're taking long periods of time off, then trying to get back into a groove for the playoffs. And I just don't like that personally. I think you play.
Yeah, I just think you can't let Saquon Barkley be the next Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson was 7 yards away from breaking the record in 2012.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
And he will forever be second because he couldn't get 7 more yards and not be, you know, I mean, I don't think it really affected his legacy, but what a feather in his hat. What a thing. Oh, AP, arguably the greatest running back of all time, potentially. Look, he's got the season record. He's got this. He's got that. He ran dudes over like they were, you know, pancakes. And so I just think now I don't think Saquon's in the greatest ever conversation, and I don't think he ever will be. But
I think he's having a greatest season right now. One of the greatest seasons.
Yeah. So, but I think you let him go for it. If you get to the fourth quarter and he's still 40 yards away, then yeah, you're done. But I think if he's making progress and if the Giants don't really care, it should be pretty easy too. So,
and to Derek's point though, on the momentum thing is really what he's talking about, is that you don't want to get cold. I really think that has to do with the coach, and this is where I think the Cowboys have not handled that well. Because we've seen teams like, in particular, the Chiefs get that time off, and they've rested people at certain points, and so they're ready to go. And I'll actually go back to basketball to Coach Popovich. He used to do this with the Spurs during a lot of setting people so they were ready for the playoffs. I think that really has to do with coaching, is that you keep them ready during the practices, you keep them ready to play, but you give them that time off that they need. And it really goes to your team, of knowing your team. Is my team strong enough to take this time off and then come back in and hit where we left off at? But you know, that's always the argument. The ones coming off the bye week, are they going to continue with being hot, or is it going to be the folks playing through it and continuing that momentum? But I think that's coaching.
So we're going to play one more ad, then we're going to kind of get into some just hot topics. Just something we want to talk about. I do got a question for Casey when we come back from this small break. You said something earlier about point guard and high volume shooters. And I want to get your take on something right when we come back from this break.
Sweet. Looking forward to a great tease.
Yeah.
One of the many things that we offer is a fence repair. And today we're out here in Longview, Texas. We are going to be replacing a rotten 4x4 post. fence restored and standing tall. You can reach us at 903-619-6343.
Appreciate you, Corbett, and CBC Landscape, man. Get a hold of them for anything you need outside, anything, retaining walls, fences, bush clearing, anything y'all need, man. Give them a shout. Located up here in East Texas. So I want to ask you a question, Casey. Being a basketball guy, I told you I love basketball. It's probably my favorite sport. Where do you rank Steph Curry all-time point guard?
Ooh,
because something that you said, and I'm not gonna tell you what it is just yet, but something that you said is something that I have a strong opinion on as far as the point guard position, and I want to know where you rank him.
Oh, man, if you would have said shooter, I would have put him number one without a doubt.
100% agree. Just by you saying that, I already know we're on the same page. But go ahead.
Point guard, and people are probably going to roast me in the chat or on wherever they're watching this live. I put Steph number 3 as an all-time point guard. I put him behind Magic, and I put him behind John Stockton.
I 100% agree with you. I think when I think of point guard, I think of somebody that leads the team. And it's hard for me. I was a point guard. So it's hard for me as a point guard to know that a power forward or a center led the team in assists for like 4 or 5 straight years. And that's what happened at Golden State. Steph was a shooter. That's who Steph is. Steph is a shooter. He is high volume. Now, does he make his shots? Absolutely. I mean, does he get the points? But he doesn't run that team. And point guard wise, as running a team, give me Rajon Rondo over Steph Curry as a point guard. Rondo was a point guard. That Celtics team does not win the NBA title without Rajon Rondo.
I don't disagree with you on that last point. I don't know if I take Rondo over him.
I'm saying as a point guard, not as a all around. I'm talking about.
I know what you're saying. I want to. You can't discount Steph Curry's passing ability, and I will say they've had to hide Steph Curry on the defensive end throughout most of his career. You didn't do that with the 2 I put in front of him. Yeah, I don't know. I keep him number 3 in the grand scheme of things. Shooter, he's the greatest of all time. He's a winner. He's a Hall of Famer. Looking like a little skinny kid who couldn't play basketball. Mr. Dawson put Steve Nash in front of him all the time in the chat, which, I mean, that you could argue that.
You can argue it, yeah. Where would you put Westbrook? There was a stretch at OKC where Westbrook was arguably probably the best player in the league, right? I mean 3 straight triple-double seasons when it hadn't been done at all for 30-something years.
Yeah, since Oscar Robinson. I put Westbrook as one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen in the league. As a point guard, he's probably not in my top 10.
Okay.
To me, he was more of a, he's just, he doesn't do enough it's crazy to say this. He didn't do enough creating on the offensive end for me, for others, even though he averaged double-digit assists. To me, a lot of his rebounding stats were hollow at times because his teammates wouldn't go rebound the basketball. They'd let him go get it.
Or it was a long board or something like that, yeah.
And to be honest, I can't say that the Oscar Robinson's teammates didn't do that because I didn't see him play. When you have a guy like that, but Oscar Robinson only did it once, I think, for a season.
Yeah, that's it.
So to me, that doesn't say it's hollow. Russell Westbrook is an amazing player, amazing athlete, but he's a guy that if I'm building a team, if I'm putting together a team, he's not even on the radar for me to put on the team. Like
I respect that,
in
yeah.
position or even on the bench. He's a great player. He's just, to me, his skill set doesn't align with great team basketball. Hence why they never won a championship in Oklahoma City.
Do you think he's the
I
reason?
think y'all are leaving out somebody because y'all are young. Is John Stockton?
I said, what did I just put?
He's number 2.
Stockton.
You listening?
Is better than any of them, in my opinion.
I put Stockton 2 behind Magic ahead of Steph Curry. Are you listening to the show?
I'm not listening to you because you usually talk crap. But
Derek and Sean, and this is the crap.
He said Stockton right behind Magic, right in front of Curry. I can't attest to that.
This is what I deal with on our show.
Yeah, but see, and I understand your basketball or whatever, but Stockton, to me, was better than Magic because Magic had better players with him. Stockton did it on teams where you really only knew a couple other players. He's first all-time in assists, first all-time in steals. I mean,
played 82 games, like 19 years in a row, something like that. Like he didn't miss hardly any games.
You're gonna knock Magic for having better play. That's why he won championships and Stockton didn't win championships. Like you can't knock.
I get all that. But my thing is he had other players on those Lakers teams. I mean,
you even name
how many other Hall of Famers were on those Lakers teams with Magic?
Huh?
How many other Hall of Famers were on that team with Magic?
Worthy, Kareem,
Cooper,
Michael Cooper. Is he a Hall of Famer? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But that's about it.
That's quite a few compared to who Stockton played with.
Malone.
I mean, yeah, second biggest scorer. Well, was at the time.
Yeah.
But listen, man, the fact that you're not even listening to my list is disappointing. And obviously, in this realm, I'm going to blame it on the hearing aids right now. But Stockton,
you also
guard 100%.
You're also forgetting Isaiah. Did you mention Isaiah?
No, because I don't think he's better than Steph. He's better than at the point guard. He's better than Russell Westbrook. I'll take.
Oh, absolutely, I agree.
100%.
Yeah,
but
I would take Isaiah over Westbrook.
Sit here and try to pull this old guy card on me.
He's trying to bring up the old school player
card. Yeah, you're trying to pull the old guy card. Like, look at the white in my beard. I'm wise and
that's wise. Yeah, wise.
Don't give me that garbage.
But let's kind of anything y'all want to talk about. Any questions? Any hot takes you guys got?
I have one.
Let's do it. I love it.
And I want to get y'all's opinion on it because we did not get to it on our show last week. And so it'd be interesting to get some other opinions and my dad's here. Hot take. I want, where do you draw the line? What would y'all do with NIL and the transfer portal? Because here's my thing. I'll let y'all stew on it real quick, and I'll give you my take on it. I think at some point some entities got to start capping money in NIL. That schools can give a pseudo salary cap, if you will, or just across the board. This is the amount of money you can do, and you can divvy out because the NIL has gone insane. I mean, I remember seeing a video of Texas recruits walking in, and it's just lined with Lamborghinis. Like, it was insane. On the transfer portal, here's my proposal for that, and then I'll shut up, is I think you should get one freebie in your career. It's like I said in the show that I had to do by myself a couple weeks ago is you ultimately sometimes you get a job, or as an adult you go someplace and it's just not the right fit. It's not what you thought. I've had teaching jobs where it wasn't the right fit after a year, and you go someplace and you get to the right spot. And I think as a player, you should be able to do that once. And the caveat to that is if your coach leaves. If your head coach leaves the program, you should be able to leave as well. Whether that's following him, whether that's going wherever you want. But you shouldn't just be able to go, this freshman year I was at Penn State. Sophomore year I went to Ohio State. Junior year now I'm at Florida. Senior year now I'm at Washington or wherever. That's garbage.
Yeah.
And so those are my kind of solution for it. I'm interested to hear what y'all think on those.
Well, I completely agree. I think there has to be a cap on the NIL because you've got certain schools that are going to have a plethora of. I mean, it's almost like the baseball salary cap. I know that kind of intrigued Sean a little bit. Like some teams, they like the Rays.
Lack thereof.
Yeah, the Rays. They're
Lack thereof, yes.
$67 million total. Then you have the Dodgers, $1 billion in deferred money. I mean, like there has to be a balance. When Bill Belichick took the job in North Carolina, the NIL fund went from 11 million to 21 million overnight. So I mean, just like that, it grew because they're going to bring in the type of players because North Carolina is going to turn into a funnel to the NFL. That's what it's going to end up being. Like if you want to go, you go here, you learn. Belichick's going to run an NFL type practice, NFL type offense, defense. That's going to be the hotbed for the NFL. There has to be a cap on it. I don't care what it is, 15 million. If you want to put it at 30 million, put the cap at it. Let it be for everybody. And as far as the transfers go, I think there needs to be one transfer portal. There doesn't need to be a winter transfer portal and a spring transfer portal because just what happened at the Independence Bowl. It was supposed to be Marshall versus Army. Marshall's coach left. The entire team entered the transfer portal. The entire team entered.
That's ridiculous.
And left. So they wrestled around and found Louisiana Tech to come fill the thing. And then you got guys that are, should be going to playing in a bowl game, but they've opted out because they're transferring somewhere else. I do think they should get it, like you said. Maybe it's just not the right fit. Maybe they got there and it wasn't the right fit. But I think there needs to be a penalty with it because, A, you were recruited to, say, A&M. And I went to A&M on visits, and I talked to the coaches, and I did all this. I chose A&M. So if I choose to leave, my penalty is I have to sit out of you. I can't go from A&M to Texas and play immediately. I think there has to be a window of you sitting out and, kind of reaping what you sowed from picking A&M and didn't like it. That, it was A&M was still the A&M that you went and visited. You were the one that didn't like it. A&M did not like you. But that's my take on it.
I like Casey's you get one, and then especially if a coach leaves. Because, again, like, if, say, this coach came, recruited you, wanted you, you get there, you have 1 year, and then all of a sudden, whatever, he's fired. Kind of like what? The coach you were talking about earlier who's 67-10, and he's on the hot seat for if he loses this championship. It's just like, okay, well, you have a whole entire team, and this coach has a unbelievably winning record, and you're going to fire him. So now the team can just be like, well, what the hell? And then what if they come in, change a whole entire program that doesn't suit a player, or that doesn't suit a player's skills or anything like that? So I agree with you can get one, but I'll use Jalen Hurts as an example. Oh, somebody came in, was better than me, so I left and went to another school, another program. Like, no, you can't do this every year. That's a joke.
So there's I don't know if y'all saw it on Twitter, and I think I put it on the Tired Sports page. There's a kid named Bear Alexander. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. He transferred to he was at Georgia. He transferred to USC last year. So this year, he was started at Georgia, went to USC, and then now he's at Penn State. Okay, he's got a photo, and on his photo, he's flexing his bicep, and it's got a Georgia G on it. He's in like a Penn State uniform, and his profile picture is his USC uniform. Like that's where they're at now.
Yeah, that sums it up right there.
All right, so I'm gonna add this caveat: is number one, if because you're divvying out these NIL money, there needs to be legal contracts attached to it. You know, you had the issue with the UNLV quarterback who quit on his team because he's like, oh, they didn't pay me what they said they're going to pay me. So that's an issue in itself of, okay, you're agreeing to this, but there's nothing legally that says we have to give it to you. We just said we were going to. So, I mean, ultimately it makes your university look bad to the kids because you didn't do it. But there's nothing legally, contractually getting you that money. The other side of it is, this is probably the most controversial of my views on this, is if you get NIL money over a certain level, you shouldn't get rewarded with a scholarship. You should have to pay for your school. Your school should come out of that money.
I like that.
I don't. To me, it's not fair. If we're in the land of fairness, but it's to me, it's not right. If you're going to make all this money off your name, image, and likeness, and you're going to get a free education, whether you're going to the classes or not. Most of them aren't even going to classes. So let's take the academic scholarship part out of it, and you pay for your tuition out of your NIL money. I think you should not be a scholarship over a certain level. Like the guys, if you get 10 grand NIL money, you should still get a scholarship, right? That's not paying for jack shit. Pardon my language. But ultimately, these guys, Caleb Williams should be paying USC back for his education. He's making millions and making millions out of.
I'll kind of touch on that a little bit more. What do you think about, say, you know, the same realm? We'll use Caleb Williams. He was at Oklahoma. He got $80,000. Okay, and he's still on scholarship. Then he up and leaves and goes to USC. Should he pay that money back? Either the tuition for the year he was there, because it cost them a roster spot. It cost them something at the university, or should he pay the NIL back because he's no longer there?
Well, I think that's part of the contract that needs to start being put in place.
Exactly. And you almost think it would be when you sign your letter of intent to go to the school, you're signing a 4-year agreement. So when you leave after 3 years to go to the NFL, you're not holding up your end of the bargain that you have signed.
Well, in that contract, and Pops, I know you got your MBA, so if I'm saying anything ludicrous, please, hop in there. It should be based on, you sign a 4-year contract, you get a percentage of that 25% for that first year that you were there. You know what I mean? Just like, anything else is if I only work a certain amount of hours, I'm only going to get paid that much, not my yearly salary. Right. So, that's why I'm saying there's got to be
there's going to have to be something, because it's out of control. To me, it's completely out of control. They're going to have to put some type of penalties in place. They're going to have to put some type of contracts in place, or it's going to start. To me, it's going to start ruining the product on the field, which it's already affected it to a certain extent. But one of the reasons we love college or whatever is because, this isn't the NFL. This is them getting prepared to go to the NFL, and they're playing not for a bunch of money. Well, that's kind of changed a little bit, but they're going to have to put some type of controls on it, because, and it's just like anything, when they put something in place or open it up, everybody takes advantage of and exploits it. And that's what's going on right now. So it's going to have to change at some point. to have some type of regulation, so to speak, in it, because
I don't know if
it's
y'all
out of
saw
control in my mind.
the Tulane quarterback. He just signed the biggest NIL deal to this point ever. It's a 2-year, $8 million NIL deal with the University of Duke. So $4 million a year. At $4 million a year, you can pay for your own college. I'm 100.
Yes.
That's that Darian kid, right?
Yeah.
Darian something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at that, and because I think I was looking at the top 5 quarterbacks and what they were predicted to make. And I mean, them combined was almost 15, 20 million.
Yeah. That's
and
nuts.
it's just like
and that's
5 players.
The other craziness of this whole situation was the NCAA ruling your JUCO years don't count against your eligibility.
So you
can literally go to JUCO for 2 years now, then go to the pro, or not pro. I mean, it's essentially pro right now. Go to a 4-year college, and now you're looking at, the NFL is going to be affected because now older players are going to be coming to the NFL because life's going to be if you're a god on Alabama's campus making $4 million a year, for example, why are you going to go to the NFL when you're making $800,000 a year, or depending on where you're drafted?
Yeah.
And so you're going to stay there that whole time. Now, college football product might get better if they put some where you got to stay and play at certain places, or certain amount of years with those contract NIL. But man, now instead of drafting a 20-year-old Tyron Smith like the Cowboys did back in the day, now you got to pick from the best players in the draft are all 25 years old.
Yeah. I saw I forgot who it was that put this out. But some little guy, it was a guy on Twitter. He said that a coach reached out. He reached out to a coach about his kid. He was a high school senior, wanted him to come in, and he's like, man, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, we're not taking any high school kids.
Yeah.
All of our slots are for portal guys. And then he made a big spiel about how college football as a whole, from D1 to JUCO, is about to be like the MLB farm system. Your top 150 players are going to make the roster. They're going to go directly to Alabama or anything like that. The next 250 are going to go to South Alabama and Georgia Southern, the lower D1, and if the back 500 are going to go JUCO and D3, North Dakota State, stuff like that. And then when these Alabama guys graduate, those seniors graduate, guess who they're looking at? They're going to go down and pick the next best person off of South Alabama. And then South Alabama is going to go the JUCO route. And then, and that's what it's going to end up being. Your high school kids, the JUCO level is about to be unreal because they're going to have all these 17, 18-year-old kids who are really good, but they're just not good enough to play at the D1 right now.
Right. And what's crazy is, and I didn't look into this. I should have. I think if you go JUCO 2 years, you still get a redshirt year.
Yeah. Yes. You can have 5 years in.
Insane.
Yep.
That's
unless you're Cam Rising and get 9 years at Utah.
Right. Was that tight end for Miami?
Oh, well, the tight end for Miami just finished his 9th year. Cam Rising, he's a quarterback. He was at Texas for 1 year. He redshirted. Then he went to Utah and got hurt. Then he played 2 years, got hurt again.
Like Jason White.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is his 9th or 10th year that he's coming back for.
It's insane. Like,
yeah,
you're gonna have guys fighting arthritis by the time their college career is over.
Yeah. So, well, anybody else got kind of anything, any topics, anything y'all want to talk about? I got a question go ahead, Sean.
So mine was real quick, and I didn't know if anybody saw the comments about this. About I mean, I think it's going to get to this point, but people coming out saying that college football needs a commissioner, and and them saying Nick Saban.
Yeah.
I just laughed, and I was like, you know what? It's getting to that point, especially with all the how big the money's getting in it now. And I just was curious what your guys' thoughts were. You're all more college football than I am. That's why I was curious what your.
I'll tell you what I would like to see, and it would go right along with that. I wouldn't mind Nick Saban being the commissioner of college football. And the first thing that I think he should do is get rid of all the bowl games. And I'm going to tell you why. Get rid of the college bowl game and expand the playoff.
I was about to say, you going 16 or 32?
Now that's where it would get tricky. I think there's 10 conferences, and I'm talking ACC, Conference USA, the AAC, all that. I'm talking every conference. And I think if you play, don't do no rankings, don't do jack crap. You play your conference game. Whatever your record is, if you make it to the conference championship, you automatically, if you win it, you get a bye. Okay, you're in as a bye. If you get second in your conference, you host a playoff game. Okay, so you're going to have, like I said, if there's 10, so you'll have 10 teams that'll host a playoff game. And then you pick the next 10 best teams. However you want to look at them. If it's all ACC, if it's all big, however you want, have a committee pick the next 10 best.
Well, there's already a precedent in FCS for this, right?
I think somewhat along that.
Doesn't FCS they have an entire tournament style?
They have the entire tournament style, but they your buys, your teams that get the bye, the second round of the playoff, guess what? They host the game. So you have 2 weeks of games being played on campus. And then now you're down to where we're at now. Now you can go play a game at the Rose Bowl, at the Superdome, at the Orange Bowl, in Cowboy Stadium, in the Superdome. You keep them games set. And then you rotate the national championship between all that. But just get rid of the bowl games and let's play some home playoff games. That Penn State, that was an awesome environment. And I think the Notre Dame at night, amazing atmosphere. That is college football. That's what I like to see. That's why I like college more than I like NFL. Because the NFL stadiums, yeah, they get loud every now and then, but them college stadiums get loud. There was 28,000 at the game last night, and that freaking place was loud for 28,000.
Yeah, that was actually one of my pet peeves we had on one of our earlier shows is playing these games that aren't at their home stadium for the college. And even in the NFL, it's, playing overseas and all that stuff. They're like, what's this bloody American football stuff that I'm going to? So I'll get a churro. No, but in college, to your point, it's about the home game. When you go to Kyle Field, you're at Kyle Field. But it's, when they play the Jerry's World game every year with A&M and Arkansas, I get it. And Casey's argument on this, well, you would move the Texas OU game to Red River. And yeah, actually I would. But, to me, it takes away from those kids being able to go to that home game and root for their team.
Well, that's no more at Jerry's World.
I
I don't know if you know that.
That what?
The A&M in Arkansas, it's not in Dallas anymore. Starting next year.
Well, that's good.
Y'all don't want to watch the Pop-Tart Bowl or the New Era Pinstripe Bowl?
I just said this yesterday, and I was like,
Bowl. I'm still waiting for the Bourbon Bowl.
Did you see the trophy for the
Mama said.
The Pop-Tart Bowl trophy is a football, and it's literally got silver Pop-Tart below it. Like legit Pop-Tarts Bowl. I don't want to watch the Eggnog Bowl. I don't want to watch that. You can call it what it's the college football playoff. Give me, let's see. So Texas hosted a playoff game. Penn State hosted a playoff game. Give me a Clemson. Oh, they got to buy. SMU would have hosted a playoff game. Give me that. Give me meaningful games at home field advantage, and then guess what? Second round of the playoff, after that first round, reseeded. The number 1 seed should play the worst seed coming in. They shouldn't play like Oregon. Oregon got screwed. Oregon got Tennessee or Ohio State. That shouldn't have happened. If SMU would have won, that should have been who Oregon played. They should have got the worst seeded team left.
Oh, I think they should reseed for sure. But I mean, I don't know. There's just some cachet with the GoDaddy.com Dollar General Living Tree Bowl. That's hosted in Mobile, Alabama. I mean,
yeah, I can't wait to go to that one next year. Like
see if we can get credentials for that one.
Yeah, I'll look into the credentials for that one and watch Tennessee Technical College play USC. And that's another thing. If you're going to keep the bowls, get rid of the tie-in, like the Alamo Bowl. We should have had Miami Hurricane versus Colorado, the 2 best offenses pretty much this year. That would have been an unreal scoring event. But instead, we had the bowl tie-in with a Big 12 and a former Pac-12 team. It was a Big 12 football game in a bowl game. Like that, I could see that in a conference play. I don't want to watch that in the bowl game.
Right, yeah.
So that was my little rant on that. I do have a question for you, Sean, while I got you here. And is Philly going to blow it up? Like, we kind of talked about it.
The Sixers?
The Sixers, yeah. What?
I said it to Scott the other day because when Embiid, during warm-ups tripped over somebody working security, and then he hurt his ankle, and I'm like, the dude can't even just walk without having to miss a game. And I was like, he already never plays back-to-backs, which is a joke. And I'm like, so on average, there's 15 games he's going to miss. It's already established. And I'm like, so you signed him to another max deal for another 3-4 years with the knowing of he'll never play another back-to-back. And I'm sitting there because it was funny because my brother and I watched that show on HBO that was pretty much about Magic or about the Lakers. And they showed Roberts was Magic and Bird. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, that NBA is gone. That does not exist anymore. And I'm like, but I have my best player one of the best players in the leagues who will not play back-to-backs. He can't walk without hurting himself. If somebody touches his face, he breaks an orbital socket. I'm like, dude. And he sent me that, and I said, dude, blow up the team. Get rid. Everybody here, the majority of people here are just they're over it. And then he'll come out and he'll score 40 points, and then he makes comments just oh, I've done so much for this city, and I'm like, still don't have a championship, still can't get past the second round, and you disappear during the playoffs.
It's all about the process, man. The process.
The process, we don't have anybody from the process besides Embiid.
Trust the process.
It's everybody. Everybody was so high on that for so long.
I think you keep the backcourt. You keep Maxey and the rookie.
I said keep Maxey and the rookie, and then blow the team up.
Because you get something. Somebody will overpay for him. Maybe the Kings, something like that need a big that want to win. Something like that. Golden State might pay for him.
Kings they're rumored to send Fox to LA.
I think because the Lakers just traded Russell today.
The Lakers just had a big trade.
Oh, they did. They did trade Russell today,
and I think that's opening the door for Fox. So you never know on that end of it. Mr. Eddie, you got anything? Any kind of hot take? Any topic you want to touch on?
No, I think we've covered most of them. I mean, the point about college, though, that to me right now is just it's getting crazy. to me. And you described that picture of the one player with basically three different teams represented. It just that's my pet peeve or hot take, so to speak, right now, is that it needs to be something needs to happen to get it under control. And to me, that's one of the reasons Bill Belichick is going where he's going, because if it was college of old, I don't think he would do well there. But one of the reasons, and I've heard them talk about this, that they're bringing him in is because he understands free agency and how that all works. So,
did you see his first
I
signing?
think that's what's that?
Did you see his first signing, Bill Belichick? He got the
No, I have
left
not.
guard from Holy Cross. That's a Bill Belichick pick. That guy's going to end up going to the league and playing for 14 years at left guard and being an all-pro. Like, everybody else is signing these, like, number one player in the portal, the number two receiver in the portal. Bill Belichick went and got the number 9th left guard in the portal, and he's going to be a star.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So that's my whole thing right now is and we did have some good fights in the Cowboy Eagle game today. Spilled over into the tunnel and everything.
Yeah,
that was the one thing I actually enjoyed, that they were still going at it, even though Dallas didn't really seem to care whether they won the game or not.
Yeah, that's why they were saving their energy for that, not the game. They were saving their energy.
That security guard in that tunnel wanted no part of that.
No, he did not. He got out of there.
I'm out.
That's why I laughed too, and I just saw it. I was just like, "Oh, that's right. I forgot we had Sidney Brown on our team still." And I was just like, "I guess he just like." I was like, "He's." It looks like he weighs $150 wet, and I'm like, "Yeah, he just got manhandled."
That was like Turpin getting into people's faces that are like 3 times his size. It's like, dude, calm down. They're gonna throw you over the goalpost, man.
We can say they look like this or look like that, right? So one of the things I did when I was in the Navy, I was on the honor guard, and so I did. Obviously, our primary thing was honoring our fallen vets, but got to do some fun stuff and did 5 Cowboy games when I was stationed in Fort Worth. So, which was really awesome, incredible experience. My dad, I got him to tag along on all 5 of them, and man, I remember being on the sideline of the first one at Old Texas Stadium. And number one, first thing that was really cool is our locker room is right next to the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders locker room. So thank you for setting that up.
There you go.
But the second thing that struck me was, man, I remember being on the sideline, Cowboys going through the warm-ups, and Julius Jones, the running back from Notre Dame, if y'all remember him, walked by me. And he's like 5'8", 5'9". He was rocked. I mean, just bam. And I'm like, that dude looks tiny on TV. And then I'm standing at the edge of the end zone, and I'm just chilling. And Jason Witten stands next to me, about to go through a stretch routine, and I went like this. All these fools out here that said I could have played in the league in any professional sport, you're out of your damn mind. Yeah. These dudes are huge. You do not understand, like, 46-inch quads and stuff like that. Like, they're massive. Even the little dudes are big. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. Now, Turpin is a pretty small dude. I think he's like 165 pounds. But, like, these, you'll be like, oh, he's 5'10". I don't think you realize what 220 pounds of muscle looks like.
At 5'10", yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the most inadequate I have ever felt was standing on the sideline and Terrell Owens with no shirt came running past us. That was the most ripped physical specimen I have ever seen in my life. And I was like, dude, I have never felt so inadequate.
Well, hey, that might be why he ran past you, because he was thinking that about you. Like, man, this guy's putting me to shame.
He might have, he might have.
Hey, I'll give you another.
I wish I could have ate all those hot wings and stuff. And so
I'll give you another one. So, man, when I was about 26 years old when this happened. So about 12 years ago, right? Is I'm stationed in Columbus, Ohio, and I start playing an open run at Otterbein University, where I graduated college or my undergrad from. Small private school there in the Columbus area in Westerville, Ohio. And like I've been playing basketball forever, but I'm not in shape like I was when I was 18. I'm not playing every day like I was back in the day. This is Division III basketball. And in open, these dudes didn't miss. And they're just running circles around me. And I'm like, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is Division III. Like, dudes, people don't even understand what it takes to play Division III sports, Division II sports. And man,
That's some of the
and
best
if you missed
ball.
the shot, you wouldn't get the ball. Like, they threw me one in the corner. It was semi-contested. Bam, I shoot. It went in and out. I didn't get the ball. They would look at me and then pass it the other direction. They're like, nah, he's gonna miss it. And I'm like, you mother. And so it's just crazy, like top level athletes and what it takes to be on that sport. Like, we're like, yeah, he's smart. No, he ain't.
Yeah.
You gonna see him on the street and you're gonna be like, nah, I ain't messing with that dude.
Yeah.
Deuce Vaughn is small.
He's short, but have you seen his legs? His legs are this big around.
There's no upper body. It's legs, and then there's like shoulder pads. It's very Deuce.
True.
It's weird looking.
So,
well,
right,
you guys y'all got anything else?
No, not for me.
Man, that was a great show.
Just appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we got a lot of big things coming this next year, and I think today was a good a sign. Tuesday night, sorry in advance to be on 8 Eastern time.
Yes.
8 Eastern time. Then we'll be back.
Pending my kids driving me nuts and
Pending the kids. Yeah. Dustin and Josh should be back Wednesday for us at 8 Central time. And then you guys were 7 on Thursday, correct?
Yep. First
7 o'clock
inaugural show.
First inaugural show, man. We're looking forward to that. We'll definitely be pushing that out. Man, if you guys don't got anything else, I will we'll holler at y'all later. And great show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Appreciate
it, guys.
Peace.
Later, y'all. All right. Well, great show. Looking forward to, like I said, everything that we have coming up this next year, kind of going forward. And thank y'all for watching and being a part of everything that we're doing here. Keep watch out for us, and we will see y'all later.